Welcome to the Vancouver side. I'm Gary Bott. This is Jim Maines. Today, we're going back into the past. Vancouver has a rich history. As one of the first European settlements in the Pacific Northwest, it started with Fort Vancouver on forward through legendary locals like Esther Short, Mother Joseph.
Gary, speaking of legendary locals, didn't you get the memo? We were going to dress up as one of Vancouver's finest, remember?
No. Who are you dressed as?
Well, of course, former Mayor Royce Pollard, Mayor of America's Vancouver. Check it out, I look just like him.
Okay. In a minute, we're going to talk to Pat Gelada, also a legendary local, who's got a new book out on legendary locals. I can't wait. How about you?
I cannot wait either, Gary. Hey, listen, I've got to roll. It's your turn to pay. I'll see you later.
Okay. Thanks. I'm very pleased to be here with Pat Gelada, a local legend here in Vancouver, and she's going to tell us just a little bit about her brand new book.
Yes, the new book. It's called Legendary Locals of Vancouver, and I wrote it for Arcadia Publishing. And it's about people who people were talking about at one time or another, and it was fun to write, and here it is now. My husband and I retired. I went to work for first the Grant House Museum, it was a museum once, and then the Clark County Historical Museum, and I stayed there for 22 years. In the meantime, I ran for city council. I was elected. I served there for 20 years. I seem to have a 20-year tenure score. And I've written, this is my 5th book now. I've written Darkness Next Door, which is ghost stories, Naming Clark County, which is where everything got its name, Downtown Vancouver for Arcadia, Camas for Arcadia, and now this one, Legendary Locals. One story I learned that was so sad was poor Mr. Beeson. Mr. Beeson owned the newspaper here in Camas, Vancouver Independent, and he married a beautiful young woman, and she told him that she was due an inheritance, but that her evil relatives were trying to cheat her out of it. So he mortgaged everything he owned to pay for her legal fees, and they went to court, and she won, and she moved to California with the money and left him absolutely destitute, living with his daughter for the rest of his life.
Pat, I want to thank you for your time. Make no mistake, we will have Pat Gelada on the Vancouver side again soon.
To my beloved Gary.
That was swell.
Okay.
Thank you there, Gary. I'm standing outside right now at the St. Patrick's Day Parade in the Houck neighborhood in the Uptown Village. The Houck Elementary kiddies go out on St. Patrick's Day dressed in green and sharing their flair. That wonderful book, I have a copy of it here, Legendary Locals of Vancouver. There's a wonderful piece about Patrick Paddy Houck. Paddy Houck came from Limerick, Ireland. He was born there in 1846. When he finally moved here to Vancouver, he was the head of Holy Angels College in Vancouver near Kaufman Avenue. What was wonderful is over the years, Paddy would teach during the day, and at night he would train others to become teachers. Over the years, he saved up much of his salary so that he could give it back to the community after his death. And today, the Center and Battleground has received most of the fruits of Paddy's gift.
Thanks, Jim. We're going to take a look at a few pioneers of Vancouver. This is Esther Short. She and her husband Amos came here in the 1800s with their 10 children. After a dispute over land in which Amos actually shot David Gardner, they claimed the land for themselves that includes Vancouver City, Esther Short Park, the Catholic Church. For many years after Amos died, Esther ran a hotel and a restaurant called the Alta House at the foot of what is now Washington Street, and allowed it to serve as a ferry dock.
Esther Short Park was established in 1853. It is the oldest public park in the state of Washington. During hard, serious economic decline in the 80s and 90s, this park became home to numerous transients. The Columbian actually stated in 1996 that this was the nucleus for the most made 9/11 calls in the city. Royce Pollard, the mayor at the time, and others worked together to push for a revitalization. After $5.67 million in direct aid and investments from capital funds on buildings around the area, this is what it's grown to become today, really the hub for our community, the heart of Vancouver, Esther Short Park.
This is the home of John P. Kiggins. Now, it's primarily important because it was built and owned by John P. Kiggins. See, he came out of the Army at Fort Vancouver and started several successful entrepreneurial businesses. The most famous of which, of course, is the Kiggins Theater. He also served as mayor of Vancouver and had a great hand in building this community into what it is today. Now, of course, this house wasn't originally built here. This house was originally located on the site where our brand new community library exists now. But it was saved and brought to this location in 2007 before they built the library, and as you can see, it's been restored beautifully.
Kiggins Theater opened on April 24th, 1936. On opening night, the showing was She Married Her Boss. The movie theater is constructed in the Art Deco by architect Dave Walter Kilborn. Kiggins Movie Theater continuously operated from 1936 to 1958. Today, the theater reopened after numerous years of opening and closing following '58 in 2011 after extensive renovation and remodel. Next time you're on Main Street, check out Kiggins Movie Theater.
Mother Joseph first came to Vancouver in 1856. She named herself Joseph after her father. What she found was a wild and untamed land with few services for the poor or anyone. So she set about building. She built a school. She built an insane asylum. She built a hospital. And she built the sisters that made Vancouver civilized.
In the early 1870s, Mother Joseph planned a home for the Holy Angels. The local Hidden Brick Company provided the brick, and Mother Joseph oversaw the design and supervision of the construction. The sisters, their orphans, and boarders moved in on September 7th, 1874. For over 50 years, the Providence Academy was home to the sisters.
Greg Kimsey, Clark County Auditor. I love Clark County because of all the fabulous people like Gary Bach and Jim Maines. Yay!
We learned a lot about our legendary locals and what they've done in this community, the strong foundation that they've laid out for us here today in this city and in this county. We got to remember those that are now here actively participating and engaging in volunteer work, civic duty to really make Vancouver what it is. There's a lot of passion in Vancouver. Both sides of the aisle are very involved and very active. And that diversity is what makes this such a great place.
Thanks for joining us on the Vancouver Side, your video blog for everything north of the Columbia River. We'll see you next time.
Take care.
Hey Gary, what are you doing?
I've been waiting for a bus, Jim. I've been waiting at this bus stop for hours.
Should have voted for C-Tran.
That's for sure. Thank goodness I did.